Welcome to another episode of Destination Linux Podcast.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rocco. And this is episode 21 of Destination Linux. Hi, Rob.
Hello, Rocco. How you doing, buddy?
Well, Rob, I think I have decided that I am going to switch from GNOME. I know that may come as a shock to you.
Wow.
Switching and all, but
wow.
I don't know. I've been having this issue, and I talked about it last week, where it hesitates, and I just can't seem to get rid of it. So
now, when you say hesitates, what's going on there? Are you like when you go into the file manager or something, or?
Well, I thought it was only when I would go up and like hit the power options, where if I hit the power options, the menu that comes up, it takes about 15 seconds for it to come up. And I thought it was only that, but I've been noticing more and more that when I go to log in, when I come up to the login screen, before I can actually put in my password, it hesitates for 15 seconds. And various times throughout using it, including in the file manager, it'll just act like it's like I'm doing nothing. It'll just laugh at me when I try to do something, and I'll click and there'll be nothing there, you know. And so I don't know what's going on with it. It may even have something to do with my hard drive, but I got to find out. So, and the only way to find out is to switch.
Well, I've got to ask then. So, what's the desktop you're going to switch to?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
I know what you're not going to be installing.
What am I not going to be installing, Rob?
You're not going to be installing ApricityOS. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yep. No, I'm not going to be installing ApricityOS. But what I did do, I revisited, there's news that Cinnamon 3.4 came out, and I revisited Cinnamon by installing it on this GNOME install. And man, I'll tell you what, I've always had a soft spot for Cinnamon, because when I started in Linux, I started on KDE, and I switched over to Cinnamon pretty early and used it for a while. But the extensions and the way they were, it just wasn't set up right, and they would break everything, and oh my gosh, it was kind of a mess. But I used it long enough to enjoy using it. It had, at the time when I started using it, it had way more options than most other desktop environments did.
Yes, yep.
And it looks nice. So since then, I have tried it on Apricity and other distributions, but I've never really, it was always sluggish and everything. I installed it on here, and I booted into it, and it wasn't sluggish at all. I have to say, like, if you turn off some of the animations and everything just pops up. I'm not saying it's for everybody. I just, no, I'm not switching to Cinnamon. But I did want to say that I did try it out, and it looks nice. But I'll probably go back to KDE.
So you think then it certainly was the GNOME desktop, because once you added Cinnamon on there, you were not getting the lagging.
I wasn't getting the lagging in the actual system when it's running. I'm still getting the lag at the login manager. I don't know what that has to do with, but I'm still getting that. Okay.
Well, you'll have to keep us posted, man, and hopefully, so you think, excuse me, not eventually, but you think ultimately it's back to KDE?
Dude, it's always back to KDE.
Yeah, that's true. What am I saying?
Look, Rocco tried them all, man. But
yeah.
Eventually,
well, and we will continue to do that. That's right. Well, Rocco, I know we never have taps music when we need it.
I have it, Rob. I just don't have it on me right now when we need it.
That's right. But this one surprised me. I got to say, ApricityOS is no more, so they're going to cease development. And I liked Apricity. When I first discovered that, hey, I'm really getting into these Arch-based distros, then, what do? Well, you try every Arch-based distro out there.
Yep.
So, and Apricity was one of those, and its mainstay flavor was the GNOME desktop, and then they came out with a Cinnamon desktop version, and I tried both. And what I discovered was, in the looks department, very nice. It was well done, put together well, the theming and everything that they had in place. But what I discovered is that I would wind up a little bit like Manjaro, where I'd get, 4 or 5 days into it and start to notice issues.
Yep.
Did you have the same experience? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I installed it, and from the very beginning, when I tried Cinnamon, like I said, it was pretty sluggish. It was a bad experience on Cinnamon. When I installed the GNOME edition, the first time it worked great, and it looked really good. I love the fact that they had the ICE browser working completely in there, where you could put apps in and stuff. That was like one of the main features of it. But eventually, you're right. It ended up being kind of like Manjaro, where it works great at the beginning, and then after a while, things start to fall apart. Now, whether that's from Manjaro or Apricity themselves, or whether that's from Arch, I don't know.
Right.
But either way, some things would go wrong. I can say that happens way less on, say, Intergus.
Yes, I would agree with that. Hate to see it go, but that's the world we're in, where new distros come on the scene, and then other distros just kind of dwindle down and eventually die out. So, but wish those developers the best. Maybe they'll wind up in other cool projects or something like that.
Well, they said on the official announcement, like all good things, ApricityOS must come to an end. We hope that your time using our operating system has been enjoyable, and that you continue to explore using Linux in the future. But unfortunately, we no longer have time for its required upkeep. And
lack of time.
I can surely appreciate the lack of time aspect.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, Rob. So on to a little bit more happier news. KDE Plasma 5.9.5 is coming to Kubuntu. So if you have the backports enabled right now, I believe it's up to 5.9.4, but they will be adding 5.9.5 to the backports, and you'll be able to install that on 1704. So I think it's the first time that I remember Kubuntu, even using the latest Kubuntu, was on par with the latest release of Plasma. Usually they're a step or two behind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm happy to see it. I recently did a video on Kubuntu, and it was good to see that things were more updated, Rocco, because really KDE Neon kind of pulled away from Kubuntu.
They did. And if people asked me, hey, which one would you recommend? I mean, I always recommended Neon over Kubuntu. I may have to look at Kubuntu more closely now and see if that's changed.
Well, my install went well. It ran very well. I was happy to see the updates, and it didn't seem as buggy. I mean, Kubuntu was pretty buggy there for a while.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I have people, I don't have them steer clear of Kubuntu, but, I tend to recommend Neon or something else over Kubuntu, because it's always been that way for me. I hear people, and I think Michael Tunnell was one of them, where he had said Kubuntu's never been buggy for him, and maybe I'm wrong on who said it, but regardless, I've had people say to me in the past, "Oh, I run Kubuntu and it's no big deal, no problem, and I have no bugs." But
right.
For me, it's always been the buggy where things just close on you, they crash on you, And I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying, and I believe partially that has to do with the fact that they were always on the older versions of Plasma. So that's why I say maybe now it'll be different with them being on the latest.
Well, and I think it helped them for sure, because, like I say, my experience was much better this time around. And so, I think that, hey, going to be going back to KDE. Maybe you should give that one a shot.
Maybe I should. Before I switch, maybe I should.
Yeah, well, we've got some even happier news, in my opinion, Rocco, and that is a new release to the Revenge family. Jody James has released Krevenge.
I love it, dude. It's awesome. I can't believe it. Yep. I think it's absolutely awesome.
So going back many months, how many times would we say to I know he got sick of it, but how many times would we say to Jody, man, if you ever came out with a KDE version?
I'm telling you. We gave him such a hard time about it. And here it is. Our dream has come true.
Our dream has come true, and so it was released last night, the official release.
Yep.
Jody was kind enough to send me kind of a test release. Mm-hmm. And so I ran that for about 12 hours, and then he had the final release. And so just thrilled with it, and on my system now, and just released a video on it actually early this morning.
So what's your take on it?
Really happy with it. And I'll tell you, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, it's got the Revenge tools.
Right.
So that made for easy setup on a lot of things, but just a few small things. We're not hard to please, Rocco, around here. sometimes the smallest things, make us really happy.
Yep.
Well, by default, Kden Live was installed.
Imagine that.
Which was awesome. Yep. HTOP was there, things like that. And a lot of the K apps are there. Now, I don't use all of the K apps, but I think what Jody was looking for was a good mixture of, hey, this is KDE focused, so let's make it so. So he's put, lots of K apps in there. Not everything you could put. I mean, there's so many K apps. You could have a 4 gig ISO.
Yeah, you would. If you put them all in there, you would have way too many.
Yeah, but it's fast, it's responsive. The theming is in keeping with the Revenge series with the grays and the reds. It looks good. And the way he's got the panel set up, and he's using, the simple app launcher, which is what I use and like. And so far, really happy with it. So I have a feeling it's going to be on here for a while, on my system for a while.
Well, I downloaded the link for the pre-release and put it on the live, put it on the USB and booted into it live, and looked around, and that installer, OB Revenge looks good, okay?
Yeah.
But that installer using the Plasma desktop looks absolutely fabulous, dude.
Well, I know I'm partial and you're partial, but I'm going to say this. Okay, so Mate Revenge just came out, right?
Yep.
Very nice. But, dude, KDE is like, to me, this is just me talking. It's like it was meant to be.
Yes.
That's the way I feel about it. It was meant to be. It feels meant to be. It acts meant to be.
That is exactly perfect words for what I was looking at when I'm watching this install and everything, and it was like, that's exactly the way it was meant to look. It was awesome.
Well, even from the theming side, he didn't have to do a lot there. He went in with the Breeze Dark, which matches the look, all the dark themes perfectly for the Revenge series.
Yep.
So
really, the Breeze Dark theme overall does a great job at being cohesive through the whole operating system. Even the GTK apps look good in the Breeze Dark theme. It's when you switch from the Breeze Dark or the Breeze that, things can get a little goofy with KDE, but the Breeze Dark theme itself is a beautiful theme.
Okay, well, forget what I said earlier. Skip right over Kubuntu and just go ahead and go to.
Well, I was going to say, but I figured I'd wait till here. But I might be trying Krevenge as my main one. So
yeah, just skip right over Kubuntu right now. Sorry, Kubuntu. But,
sorry, there's a new fling in town.
But definitely impressed with it. And here's the other thing too. So if you take a look at the original OBR, and if you just think back a couple of months back, the last time you installed OB Revenge with the OpenBox desktop, there were a lot of settings that were redundant. And with each progressive release of OBR and now Mate Revenge and now Krevenge, especially in Krevenge, there are no like redundant settings in place. He's got his tools in place, okay. ISO, a K USB tool, that kind of thing is all there. But and then you just would go right into your traditional KDE settings. So in a way, it can be immense. That's right. So in a way, it can be as simple as you want it to be, because you've got the Krevenge tools in place to help you set up, your drivers, kernels, things like that, codecs. So, you could go in there and then go into the Krevenge Software Center, where you could get primarily, browsers, your Office suite, things like that. And you wouldn't have to spend a lot of time really doing anything else. No, it's pretty much, overall, it looks really good as far as the selections are concerned. Obviously, you're not going to please everybody. It's never going to be a distro that comes out that has only installed what you wanted installed. No. But for the most part, it is a good selection of software. So, well, I even said in my video, I just went ahead and disclaimer. I'm going to be thrilled, and I'm going to be really overhyping here in this video. I'm going to be overexcited in this video. I'm just warning everybody right now. You didn't say that it was the worst operating system ever made and that you should never used it? You didn't say that? No? No, I did say if you're looking for a video that's going to knock on this where it may be bad or where it's this is the wrong video, because I'm just too excited to cover it. But I will talk about a few things there. So if I were to say one thing, there's a lot of K apps there that I haven't spent time with, not saying that they shouldn't be there. I'm just saying if I were to do one thing, it may be to go in and check out some of the K apps that maybe I haven't used or just not familiar with. And if it's something there that's not for me, I'll just simply uninstall it. Yep. But right now, that's the only knock I've got against it. So good job, Jody. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jody, because that is something that we've wanted for a long time. Well, Rob, we got other news besides Krevenge. That Linux Mint desktop? I've heard of that thing. Somebody told me one time that it's ranked high on some obscure website that we keep talking about. Well, they came out with their news, and it's not brand new news, but it is their April news edition that came out on the 30th. And 18.2 will be codenamed Sonia. Keeping with their names of their listings. So that will be coming out. And there's no specific date on when it'll come out. It's usually, they say it'll come out when it's ready. But usually they do a 6-month release cycle. So we'll have to wait for that. But it's at least announced what they're going to name it. They've also put Mate 1.18 into, or that's coming to, Linux Mint Debian Edition. Yep. Big changes in Cinnamon 3.4, which is out now, Rob. Yep. I don't know. I mean, I looked through the changes, and I don't know if there's anything that blows me away as far as the changes, except for the processes. So they, for lack of a better term, they are separating the processes individually. So when one thing happens, it won't crash everything. So if you're running an applet and it crashes, it may not crash the whole desktop, which is a great thing. And they're putting this, well, I mean, that's one of the problems I've had with Cinnamon. I don't know how you, I mean, you're not a big Cinnamon fan, are you, Rob? No. I don't have any. You know why I don't have problems with Cinnamon? Because you don't run it. That's right. Well, that's one of the problems I've had with Cinnamon in the past, is that the splices or the applets, whatever you want to call them, they're great and they add functionality to the desktop, almost like GNOME extensions do. But they were so not organized and not tested well that you never knew whether they were going to crash. You never knew when they were going to get updated to work with the latest version of Cinnamon. And now, like I said, they're going to have it as separate processes, and that includes the Nemo file manager. It'll run 2 separate processes as well. So there will be less crashing, which is a great thing. Well, recently I watched on Joe Collins's channel where he went through, and you could tell he was really into Linux Mint XFCE. Yeah. And so I watched his video and I thought, man, if Joe is really digging this, I at least need to give it a shot. So I went ahead and installed it and loaded it up and was really impressed with it, actually. It was the best Mint experience I think I've had.
Really?
Yep.
Well, it's funny because we're on KDE, we go to GNOME, and then there's all these new ones like Budgie, and it's so exciting to check all these out, but you kind of like forget about the mainstays like XFCE, and even Cinnamon goes by the wayside for most people because they've had a bad experience on it, or they just don't care for it. But both of them, Cinnamon and XFCE, have a lot to offer people, and the people that run them love it. And now I've not been a big XFCE fan. Okay, and I'll be honest with you on that. But so many people love XFCE, and I don't know, I might need to go back and reevaluate and check it out, man.
Well, I think the reason I liked it so much and let me ask you this question. When you're distro hopping, when you say, okay, I'm going to switch, I'm going to go to something else. Mm-hmm. That's it. I got this thing perfect. I got this existing operating system perfect. It's flawless. There's no problems. I got the desktop just the way I want it, but I'm going to switch.
I know exactly that feeling.
Does Mint cross your mind or not?
Never.
Linux Mint? Never, right?
Never. I'm just being honest. It's nothing wrong with it, and I have in the past recommended it to new users and stuff, but it never crosses my mind to run Linux.
All right. Well, I realized that too, and so when I was doing the Linux Mint XFCE video, I said something like, I just realized that for whatever reason, when I'm hopping, it doesn't enter my mind to, hey, hop on over to Mint. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because when I think Mint, I'm thinking Cinnamon, and I've just never been that into Cinnamon. It's good on ice cream, but as far as a desktop operating system.
Well, there's a lot of things that go into it. And, like for Cinnamon in general, like I ran Linux Mint Cinnamon for a while, and I enjoyed it. I just switched because I was trying new operating systems out. But like I was never a big fan of, and some people will be, but I was never a big fan of the menu, the default menu in it.
That was my problem, one of my problems, yep.
But then you have the spices or applets, and that, forgive me if I get the name wrong, SynStark menu.
Yeah.
It is probably one of the best menus out there in all of the desktop environments. It's configurable. It allows you to. The only one that has more options to configure itself is the Cinnamon applet that's called configurable menu that no longer, I don't believe, works in Cinnamon anymore. But that menu, you could make it look like any menu on the planet, from a full screen menu to a. And I think Letscape was the username from GitHub that created that menu, and it was a great menu. Like I said, you could make it look like anything you wanted it to look like. But other than that, the SynStark menu is probably the best one on Cinnamon, and it has so many options to configure it. And that's what, to me, when you run a desktop environment and your menu is like one of your main things. People overlook it. You use it,
yeah.
They overlook it and they say, oh, well, it's just, but that's like one of the main interactions you have with your desktop. And if you don't like it, you ain't going to have a good experience on that desktop.
No, you're not. Not with that operating system. And it's going to be attributed to the application launcher in the desktop.
Yep.
Not maybe the rest of the OS. But, well, and that's why when I started running, and I mean, like now, like if I got a whim, well, not now because I'm running Krevenge, so not now. But now Mint XFCE is going to be in my mental list because the experience was really that good, and I was surprised by that. I couldn't see where XFCE has changed all that much. Of course, by default, it's got the whisker menu, which every time I use it, I go, "This is really nice," because you can set that up with the categories on the left or on the right and go in and turn off your descriptions. And, man, you can resize that thing to to whatever size works.
Also, a very configurable menu, fast, really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fast. So, all right. Well, so good updates there on Mint, and it seems like the momentum for Mint isn't going to end anytime soon. And I think with all of the happenings with Ubuntu, we're just going to see that there'll be a further separation there, and Mint will continue to probably grow in user base, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it will. And I just, before we move on from Linux Mint, I just wanted to say that they are adopting the LightDM as their login manager.
Yep.
So they used to use the MDM, their Mint display manager, and they're going to be using the LightDM, and it's going to be a little bit different from the Unity greeter, but that's what they're going to. And the last thing would be is they have redesigned the Spices website and how they do it, which are the applets that you install.
Yep.
And it looks really good. And the best part about it is the idea that they're using to basically they're putting it in a testing bed before they put them out, so that they don't break everything as soon as you install them. Like when you used to install Spices, you were taking it into your own hands whether or not they worked, whether or not they crashed the whole desktop. And now they're kind of putting it into a testing bed so that the author uploads them, and then they'll end up testing them a little bit before they put them out into the main system, and then you shouldn't have as many problems, let's put it that way.
Well, nothing but a good move there, Rocco, because it doesn't take too many of those bad experiences, again, not with maybe the operating system, the base of the operating system, but, the applets, the Spices, and, to turn somebody off. So,
yep.
Good move. Well, Rocco, we've got a story here from the Register, and I'm just going to read it verbatim because it's kind of funny. Mozilla to Thunderbird, you can stay here and we may give you cash, but as a couple, it's over. So I thought that was funny. And we'll put a link here because you got the guy holding the Dear John letter, crying. So basically what this boils down to, there's going to be some separation here. At one point there was discussion of there being a common core between Thunderbird and Mozilla, and now there's going to be a divorce of convenience, they're calling it. So from an operational perspective, Thunderbird will be acting independently, and without getting into a bunch of the politics and things like that, there's going to be some support, I'm thinking, or the way they discuss it or lay it out here, it looks like there could be some support, but there will be separate councils and separate decisions and everything going on there. And it may be that, they need to look for alternate sources of revenue too, because who knows how much cash flow will be poured into it.
Well, it kind of reminds me of situations where they're letting it out slowly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the take I get from it, that sooner or later, they're going to completely drop Thunderbird. Because, excuse me, with them under the Mozilla hood umbrella, they had the resources that they could use to make improvements to Thunderbird. But as that goes away and they go on their own, I highly doubt that they're going to have the same available resources that Mozilla can put together.
That's right.
And that leaves them in a place where, kind of like where other places are, like ApricityOS, where there's not enough time and there's not enough resources. Yeah. These are people that are donating their time to run this. So if there's not the money to help them along, it's just going to dwindle to the point where they say, you know what, we're not going to develop this anymore.
That's right. Well, and that's the way it is with everything, Rocco. I mean, there's only so much money, there's only so much time. And to work all of that stuff out. I would have liked to have been a fly in the room, though, when they had that meeting, so I could hear it go something like this, like, we've had some wonderful days together, and there was a time when we had so much in common, and we just enjoyed each other's company so much. But I just feel like over the years we've grown apart. And I'm not saying it's you. It could be me as well. And trust me when I say this, I don't want us to entirely end our relationship, because I think there's merit behind us and all the past history and everything. But I think we just need to be friends.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what they're saying. Get out. They're saying get out, Rob.
The bag's sitting on the sidewalk.
Yep.
We'll see you later.
Done. It's over. So it's all over but the crying, Rob.
All over but the crying.
Well, on to happier news. We always have those bad news stories. Opera's new browser. Their latest release, and I believe it's 45, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it right in front of me, but they are giving you an option to have direct access to protocols like WhatsApp, Messenger, and Telegram. Yep. So you have a sidebar in Opera on the left-hand side, and it has icons for Telegram, WhatsApp, and basically, you just click on it, and it opens a sidebar in the panel, probably a couple inches wide, and you can use it. You can use Telegram directly from the browser, and still browse the websites you're on.
I have been using Opera more and more, and one of the reasons is they have a semi-VPN built in.
Yes.
I call it a semi-VPN because I'm not quite sure it would be considered full service VPN, but they have that and controllable ad blocking. And I'm not a huge proponent of ad blocking, because primarily of what we do, there's ad revenue where it's warranted. But anyway, to have this built in, because, we both use Telegram and I use WhatsApp as well. So, man, just having this all there could be very convenient if it works well.
Telegram is the best messenger out there, and
I like
to
it.
have that integrated in is great. And you talked about the VPN. It is a VPN. It's just not a VPN for, say, privacy. It's more VPN geared towards like circumventing the geo area that you're in, so you can get to certain websites that may be blocked. I wouldn't exactly use it for privacy purposes, especially since how they had a couple months ago they had a breach in their system for passwords and whatnot. I forget.
Oh yeah.
But it's definitely got some. Look, I used Opera many years ago before they went to the new back end, and it was like one of the best browsers out there. It was always on the forefront of all the innovative features. I mean, they had the magic wand for passwords before anybody had any password managers. They had features in Opera that were awesome.
Pre-caching. They started pre-caching before anyone,
And they've been really good for a long time. Now, people have left since then, and, I think one of the lead developers for Opera went to start Vivaldi. But it looks like they're starting to come back with innovative features, and it may be one to look at.
I don't think Opera ever got the respect, not respect. It never got the notoriety that I always thought it deserved every time I tried it.
Yep. Well, it didn't. It was dominated by, Firefox. And, so it didn't get the notoriety it should have. But, man, I used it and loved it.
Yeah, we used to read the articles, the battle between Internet Explorer and Chrome. They would be those articles, or go way back, where you had Netscape and all that other stuff going way back. But anyway,
Netscape.
I always thought,
that's a long time ago, man.
That's a long time ago. Anyway, but I always thought, man, just throw Opera in there and it'd blow them both away. You know?
Yeah, it never did get the notoriety, but hopefully it will now.
Well, moving on, Rocco, OpenShot has a new release with various bug fixes, and it seems like, and I'm going to probably get some flack for saying this, but the last couple of updates have been bug fixes, and then I'll jump over to use it, and I'm like, well, yeah, we need another update with more bug fixes.
Yeah, I have the same experience with OpenShot. It just seems like it's not as stable as Kdenlive.
Yeah. Well, let's go through some of the bug fixes that they have solved. And primarily, I think the last time I used it, it was that I would just get a random crash. But anyway, so some of the issues when deleting, undoing, and then moving a clip have been solved. And then there was a crash on
That's pretty good for an editor where you have to move and delete clips.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes. And then there was a crash on undo redo when deleting a clip. And the Star Wars 3D title, which I didn't know they had actually. So they've resolved an issue there. And then right-clicking on an unselected timeline item does not fully select it. And then they resolved an issue where capturing multiple digit version numbers was causing a problem. So, and this is cross-platform. This will run on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And, all right, so I knocked it a little bit. But I will say this. I have really high hopes for it. I really do. Because a lot of what's built into it is better than Kdenlive. Once you learn the slight differences in interface and how to do the same things that you would do in Kdenlive, some of the things within OpenShot are easier to do. Plus, they have better, higher quality transitions and things like that in place. That's just my experience.
It's not as full featured as Kdenlive is, but it has a better learning curve for somebody that's not, if you're not used to using Kdenlive and you're not used to editing videos at all, it's easier to pick up OpenShot than it is to pick up Kdenlive, in my opinion.
Yep, agreed. So good to see those updates and fix it, and time to try it again.
Time to try it again. Well, Rob, we got some Nvidia news, and this may help some people out. So I was actually talking to Adrian and a couple of the other guys last night in the Telegram group, and updating to the newest versions of the Nvidia drivers does solve some issues. So the latest release is 375.66 for the easy for me to say, huh? Proprietary driver update. Now, they have the 378 series as well. Okay, but that's for like the latest. Okay, so, but 37566 comes with GTX 1080 Ti support, which if you have a brand new card, that is something that you want. I mean, one of the issues that you run into, especially with the brand new cards, and I have to say on Linux, is sometimes the support in the Nvidia drivers on Linux isn't the best for the brand new cards. There seems to be more issues with the newer cards than there does with the older cards. So it's definitely a welcomed update.
Absolutely. And along the same vein here, Mesa 17.1 officially released with OpenGL 4.2 support for the Intel Ivy Bridge GPUs. So they are calling a massive update that introduces numerous improvements for almost all of the supported open source graphics drivers, including Intel i965, the Radeon, as well as the RADV and ANV Vulkan drivers. So, lots of changes there, Rocco, that really they say are going to put it on par with Android, Mac OS, and its Windows counterparts. And that's saying a lot. I mean, that's to boldly say that must mean that you're pretty happy with what you've released,
Well, you can definitely say that. Whether you can do it or not is another whole story, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm glad that they're actually shooting for that. I mean, that's Absolutely. What it should be, don't you think? I mean, it should be. You should be able to go from Windows to Linux to Mac and still have the same experience with the drivers. You should be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you can download the source tarball now and compile it if you wanted to go that route, or you can wait a few days or possibly a few weeks for the new Mesa stable branch to land in your repository. So,
well, this is one thing I found interesting about this whole thing, Rob. It says in the bottom of the article, excuse me, to thank contributors who had at least 25 commits to Mesa in the past 5 years, Feral Interactive, who is a game maker, are offering special Steam keys granting free access to their entire Linux repertoire. Repertoire? Library.
Library.
So, Feral Games, they make tons of different games, and they have a huge library of big name games, and they're giving people who have did work on Mesa basically a free listing of all their games. And I think that's awesome for a company to do that. I mean, you don't find that in companies today, especially in open source, where they're just, hey, you know what? You've contributed all this time and effort. This is on us. And I think that's great. Awesome, dude.
That's when you start smiling about the community that we're in, Rocco, I'm going to jump over to the next one too, because I want you to talk about the evil HP ways. So there is a really, I think, cool, well, now that you're moving from GNOME, Rocco, this probably isn't something that, try it before you jump.
I'll try it before I actually
try it
did
before
try
you jump.
I already did try it. It works.
Okay, great. So you can install 24 popular GTK themes with one command using a script. Now, this is from one of our favorite sites, OMGArticle. And so basically it's called Install GNOME Themes. Very, very original there, as the name implies. You're installing themes. So this has got some of the top things. What did you see in there? Rocco, in your opinion, once you installed it, really good mix?
They have themes like Arc, Numix, Graybird, Vertex, Breeze. I mean, they had all of the top themes out there that you would use in this script, and you basically all you did was run it, and you just watched it all download all of it. Now, if you don't want to take up that much room on your computer, maybe this script isn't for you, or you don't want to install that many themes. You may want to install them one at a time. But if you're a person who likes to switch themes like I am, this is a perfect script, because you don't have to add 18 different PPAs and go find this is 24 themes. You don't have to go individually and find 24 different themes to put on your system. Does it all in one shot.
Yep, and here are a few that actually, I'm not sure I've tried Plano.
Plano's pretty good.
Vimix, and then you have Graybird, Vertex, and Breeze, as you said. Then, of course, Arc and Numix.
Graybird doesn't want to go away, man. I mean, not that I have a problem with Graybird, but it's been a theme. It's been a long. It's been around a long time.
It has been around. Now, this script is supported with GNOME 3.18 through 3.24.
Yep.
So all the way up to current there. So that'd be fun to try out, but I won't be hitting that for a while, I don't think, as long as I'm having fun here with Krevenge.
Right. Well, like I said, I already tried it, so I can tell you it works, and it does work well. So
very cool.
All right, on to our security news, our crazy news. Okay, so there was a keylogger, Rob. Have you ever run an HP computer, Rob?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so built into the audio driver of HP laptops, there was a keylogger found. And the first time I seen it was on a Google Plus page, but there's all kinds of articles now, and looking at the one from bleepingcomputer.com, I believe it is. What a name. That's great. It's basically, it logs the keys for your keyboard so that it can tell whether or not you're hitting the forward button or the volume or whatever. And there are a lot of programs that do that. Okay, so that's not a crazy thing. But what the crazy thing is, it was putting all of this into a text file. And it was putting it in a log file. And it was sitting on your computer. So anybody with access to your computer could basically get a history of your keystrokes, however long you had it installed. You had it installed for 5 years. You had a history of 5 years of keylog strokes.
That's unbelievable.
Oh my
How
gosh.
long has this been in place? How long has this been in place?
Oh my gosh. I don't, let me see. I don't know if I can find out how long it's been there.
I mean, what harm could come of that?
Oh yeah, we found that. Oh yeah. Oops. No, the problem, like I said, the problem is not the fact that it's there, catching your keystrokes, because it more or less has to catch your keystrokes if it wants to, if you want to change the buttons or, in order to change the volume in the format.
Yeah, I
you
get
have
that
to
part.
have that, but to have it export out to a log file is completely out of where it should be doing. It should not be doing that.
No, and if okay, so maybe I'm too harsh, but I don't think so. But so if it's going to do that, if it's going to create this log file, at least put something in place that says, okay, every so often we're going to delete. Well, no, that wouldn't help, because it's going to come back.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just a bad setup and bad system.
It's a bad setup, man. And it's one more thing that, look, there's all this security talk and Microsoft and everything, keyloggers and here I'm surprised that Microsoft didn't flag this, because they're the only ones that are allowed keyloggers on their computers. But it's been this way for how long now, and I just don't understand where it seems to be that it's people look at this story and they'll just go by it and say, oh, well, okay. I heard one guy say, well, it really wasn't malicious. Okay, you're right. It probably wasn't malicious where the people at HP were sitting around figuring out how can we, log keystrokes here. Okay, but it's just one of these eye-opening stories that lets you see that, man, with the right things going on, with the right hacking, you can pretty much have everything logged in your system. And it's a scary thing, man.
Well, Rocco, there is some Windows news, but this is not Destination Windows. This is Destination Linux. So to cover much in the way of Windows news, I don't think we should do, with the exception of some of the new screenshots of possible future plans of a new UI overhaul in Windows.
You mean a ripoff? I mean...
That's right. No, you said it. A ripoff. Now, we could also look at it in positive light, in that imitation is the highest form of flattery. Isn't that what they say?
That's what they say.
Or in this case, a ripoff is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah, they're ripping GNOME and they're ripping Plasma off on their looks, and they're putting them together.
Yes, they are.
And they're making it into the new Windows look, and everybody's going to love it, Rob. Seriously, Everybody's going to love it. It's going to look really good. But just know that Microsoft didn't think of it on their own. Okay?
No. And for future shows and future videos and future episodes, for the person who jumps in and says, look at this from Microsoft, this is awesome. They were the first to do something. This looks great, blah, blah, blah. Just remember that it was on this show and that we know where they got the ideas. And it doesn't any of you out there who have ran GNOME or KDE or XFCE for that matter, we'll put a link for the screenshots. And when you see this, it's going to be immediately apparent, I do believe.
Immediately, you're going to know where they got it from.
And I got to say, some of the screenshots look pretty good there.
They do. I'm sorry. Like I said, people are going to love it. But
the file manager, did you see the file manager? I mean, it looked like the GNOME file manager with a particular theme that you put in place.
It did. All right, so they're also going to make available Ubuntu, SUSE Linux, and Fedora in the Windows Store. Rob, why? Why is all this happening?
This one baffles me. Now, not to say that I am upset to see that happening. And as a matter of fact, it would be kind of neat to try, I guess, to install it from the store. But I don't get it. I don't.
But it's almost like, Rob, it's almost like they're giving you, it's just Don't worry about anything. They're giving you the sleeping gas. You know what I mean? Like, we're putting you to sleep. Don't look over here. Just everything's nice and rosy, and we're adding all this stuff, but they're really trying to take people away from using Linux. They want people to be on Windows, period. And that is what I think they're trying to do, where they're adding all these into the Windows Store, because before you could not run Linux on Windows, or it was completely insane to do so. Okay? And there are developers, there are a lot of people that need to run Linux to develop software and everything, and they had lost all of those users. Well, by doing this, by adding all this in, they can coax you to, hey, we got all these other apps that maybe Linux doesn't have, and you could still develop on Windows. You could still develop software for Linux on Windows. It's just like that sleeping gas that they just want you to, don't worry about it. It's all rosy. It's all good, Just, it's very troubling.
Well, I like that perspective, and you just laid out something that I didn't really think through, and you're right. From a developer standpoint, if they can keep you on Windows but still give you enough of, so that you don't move away from Windows, but hey, yeah, you can still develop. That's a great point, Rocco. A great point.
It just seems to me that they want everybody to, even though they don't act like they're scared of users using Linux, it seems to me that what they're doing, they are kind of scared of users using Linux and people switching away from Windows, especially with the new latest Windows 10 updates and everything. They want to keep as many people as possible on their system, and this is what it seems like they're getting at, is to try to keep everybody.
Well, they're making a lot of moves here recently with Windows 10s, which I'm going to predict is going to be an abysmal failure. They poise it as we're trying to compete against Chrome OS, or that's what people are saying. This is, competition for Chrome OS. But Rocco, it's basically a locked down system. If it's not in the store with Windows 10s, you're not getting it. Now, it's capable of installing an exe, a third party, but that's all locked down. It's all locked away.
You have to pay.
You have to pay. That's right.
$50 extra in order to get the capability of running other applications on a Windows 10s.
That's right. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen. So, Aunt Sally, who just uses her browser and she goes into her AOL account for her email.
Yes.
Okay. That ain't, there's an Aunt Sally everywhere, right?
There is.
And she's got Solitaire on there. So as long as it's got Solitaire and she can get to her AOL email, Aunt Sally is very happy.
Yes.
So she says, okay, computer's broke. So let's go down to the local Best Buy or the local big box store. And hey, here's this computer with Windows 10s. That must mean sport.
Super. Windows 10 Super.
Super, man. This must be good,
Special.
And by then, special, that's right. They're going to try to give it away practically. Anyway, so she's going to buy this hardware, bring it home. And it's not going to be till later that she discovers, oh, wait a minute. I can't install this, or this game over here that I used to play no longer installs.
I guess I'll have to pay the $50.
Yeah.
One of the guys in the one Telegram group mentioned that it was Windows surveillance.
That Windows surveillance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just going to be a failure for them, and that's a sign that they're still kind of grasping at straws for something that is slipping, I think, away from them, out of their control. The more we see cross-platform software, the more we see improved cloud-based software, all of those things combined, I think Satya Nadella is standing back going, yeah, we're going to have to make some changes here.
Well, I don't know what they think is, and I haven't looked deep into it, but I don't know why they think it's different, because they tried this with Windows RT.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. maybe that was having to do with Windows 8, but either way, I just think that there's like a sinister aspect to it. And, you know, when you see a computer advertised with Windows 10s now, or if and when you do see one, it's not going to say, hey, you know what, your Steam games aren't going to work with this.
Right.
Hey, you know what, this isn't going to work with this.
That's right.
So
you want another browser? Tough.
Yeah, exactly. You can install another browser, but you know what? You can't make it the default browser on a Windows 10s. You know what I mean? Like, these things are, it's just a sinister type of move, and it's Windows. What do you want?
Well, we've talked enough about Windows, and again, we don't hate Windows, but when you start to see things, and as you said, Rocco, when you start reading between the lines, you said that once, you start reading between the lines on some things, and it becomes evident that, you know, and for a while they were talking such a good game, and I started to think, okay, maybe Windows is really maybe Microsoft is really turning a new leaf. And then these other things start to happen. Yeah, maybe they're not. You know?
No, I don't think they're turning over a new leaf. I do think they put in some new good innovations in certain areas. But like I said, there's always that sinister aspect of it, and can't get away from it, man.
That's right.
All right.
Well,
I
Rocco,
think that's it for the news, man.
I think so. Lots of news as usual within the Linux community. Rocco, we've had some discussions pre-show that we want to, I think, discuss further and kind of talk about here, winding down this episode.
Yep. We are in a situation where we're running out of, you know, like ApricityOS. The guys that were developing ApricityOS ran out of time for their normal life, so they stopped making ApricityOS. And I'm running into the same situation where I'm running out of time to make the show what I think it should be, what I want it to be. And to do that, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. And right now, in my life, the time bar is squeezing down and squeezing in. So I think we are going to, what do you think? Take a break for a couple weeks?
Yeah, I think we're not ending the show.
No.
We're just, I think we're going to take a break here. And you said it very well, because I'm kind of in that same situation. And when Rocco and I first started Destination Linux, so we had, let's go way back, 21 episodes back.
Yep.
Rocco, you and I started talking, and just through that conversation, we said, hey, you know, we're having all these conversations about Linux and technology and things that we really enjoy. And as we started to talk longer and longer, we thought, man, we could do a podcast, you know, with these conversations. So that's how it all began. So we're not saying we're stopping, right?
No, we're not stopping. I just think that right now we need a little bit of time for life in general. Look, I love Linux. I love talking about Linux. But Linux is not the most important part of my life.
No, sir.
You know, my walk with the Lord and my family are the most important things in my life. And that's what I want to concentrate on. And like I said, I love talking about Linux, and I'm not saying that this is the end. I'm just saying that I think I need a little bit of time to concentrate on that, and we may be taking a couple weeks off.
Yeah, summer vacation.
Summer vacation. We'll just leave it at summer vacation.
Okay, you got it. You got it. Well, Rocco, till we pick up next time, we appreciate all of the viewers and all of the listeners. And, you know, we could be back next week if something happens and Rocco hits the lottery and doesn't have to work anymore. And we do appreciate everyone, all the comments, and we don't want the Telegram channel to go away or anything like that.
No, and like I said, it's not the end of Destination Linux. It's just a little break.
Yep. Very good.
So hopefully we'll be back in a few weeks.
Sounds great, Rocco. Well, as always, man, appreciate it a lot.
All right, man. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.